Welcome to the Jaybe show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Today is September 22nd, 2024. Welcome to everybody. So good to have you. Come on in. I hope you guys got your tea. I definitely have mine. I hope you guys grab a snack. We're going to have a great conversation. It's so good to have you. Now, just to let you guys know, the Jaybe show is every single Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern here on RBN. You can also see me here on RBN on the Savvy and Jaybe show every Thursday at 5 p.m. And then you can see me on my channel for the Jaybe Font channel every Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right. So while we are at it, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and give a like. This actually helps us out very much. Thank you for your support and ongoing support as we try to talk about these important stories and bring this out so that we can help activate you in order to help change and make the world into a happier and more egalitarian and better place. So thank you very much for that. Now, if you have not already, have you gotten onto our mailing list? You can do this by going to revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. This gives you email notifications whenever we go live or upload any clips. So you guys have that there instead of having to rely on the YouTube notifications. So you have that. Also, if you guys have any type of questions, want to submit any stories, or just some words of encouragement or some critiques you may have, you guys can go to our email at revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. That's how you can reach us. So thank you so very much for that. So what are we going to be talking about today? A blanket hello to everybody who's in the chat, who is watching. Good to see you. I will get to you all in a little bit, but we have two stories that we're going to be discussing today. So later in the show, we're going to be talking about drivers are winning. These are some good stories that I want to end the stream with. I'm going to be honest with you. One of them, I almost started to cry because it was a good story and this is a positive thing. And I want us to walk away with some positive news after covering some of these heavy topics. So stay tuned for that. We are going to be talking about that as well. But right now, what we're going to be talking about is the brutal blue line. And we're going to be talking to Abraham Márquez. He's a National Association of Hispanic Journalists member and a 2021 USC Annenberg Center for Health Journalism fellow. He is also a Los Angeles correspondent for the Bolivia-based Casación News outlet. I would like to introduce Mr. Abraham Márquez to the show. Welcome, Abraham. Good to have you.
Hey, thanks for the invite, man. Appreciate it. Big fan of your work.
All right. Thank you so very much. Abraham, one of the things that you actually wrote lately, it was actually on your Substack. You actually wrote an article regarding Tyreek Hill, and I would like to share that as well. If you can give us just an overview of exactly what happened, and then we can go into what happened with this NFL player.
Yeah, so on week one of the NFL season this year, Tyreek Hill was on his way to work. I think a lot of people forget that these athletes are workers. They're unionized workers. And on his way to the stadium just outside, he was pulled over by the police and was forced out of his vehicle, as you can see in this image here, and was laid to the ground, handcuffed, brutally attacked, brutally treated. And what I wanted to focus on with this article in comparison to what other people were writing was the role of the police in Florida. And as I was doing my research, I noticed that they ranked in the top 3 in the nation when it came to use of force with, I believe the numbers were over 107,000 reports from 2017 to 2022. They were ranked in the top 3 in police shootings in the same year and within the same time frame. And as well, they were number 1 with the use of using teasers on people in 3 years. So right off the bat, that told me that this is a very violent police department across the state of Florida, and I wanted to highlight that Tyreek Hill's. One of the things too that also got my attention was one of his interviews. He said, "What if I wasn't Tyreek Hill?" Right, which is very true. How many of these incidents happen where there's no cameras around, right, in remote areas that we don't know about? And that is like the scary thought to think of.
Absolutely. In fact, let me share this with you guys as well. This is actually the body cam footage. I'm going to take it only so far because I want to be careful because we are on YouTube, but this is the body cam footage happened in Miami-Dade against Tyreek Hill, who is a NFL player for the Miami Dolphins. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Knock on my window like that, though.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. That way we can lower it and talk to
Just
you.
get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm gonna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it.
First of all, I want to point to something right here. You see right there in the officer's left hand, that's Tyreek Hill's license. So he already got the license, the tag. So all Tyreek Hill said was, don't tap on my window like that, right? Yeah, no, this is a very expensive high-end car. So, I mean, dudes are going to be kind of, touchy about their car. Like, don't touch my car like that, right? That's my baby, right? Spending good money on for this car. So why are you going to touch my car like that? The guy could have been like, all right, whatever. And then ran his license, ran his tag, saw that he was Tyreek Hill, right? And if he was speeding, give him a ticket and get on. But hang on. This cop decides to escalate. By the way, and I'll say this too, because I want to make this abundantly clear, right? First of all, just because a cop is not white doesn't mean that there are no more within the white supremacist institution as they are and upholding white supremacy.
100%.
This cop is brown. Okay? So, same thing. I say the same thing about black cops. Cops that are black are cops first and black second. That's how they are. All right. So, let's continue.
To let you know I'm here. That way we can lower it and talk to you.
Just get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm gonna be late, gang.
He said, give me my ticket.
You gotta do.
You got the money for
Keep
it.
it down. Hey.
All of this could have been avoided.
Keep it down. Hey. Keep your window down.
Why does he have to keep his window down when you already got the license and all you got to do is run everything?
Or just go to your motorcycle, write the ticket, give it to him, let him go to work, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like this dude, he got his tighty whities on way too tight for this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why in the article I towards the end I mentioned that, because there's a lot of people who were, bad mouthing Tyreek Hill, saying that he, because of his history of domestic abuse, that people can change, people can work on their social flaws, but at the end of the day, he cannot change that he's a black man in America. And like you had mentioned, even if it's a brown cop or a black cop, first they're cops. That's the first thing.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you very much for mentioning that. Let's continue.
Yeah.
Tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
Oh, wait. Or I'll get you out of the car. And then instead of giving Tyreek the actual choice, he says, matter of fact, get out of the car.
Yep.
So he changed his mind. Right?
Yep.
Why? Because he got, look, I know this is going to be very juvenile of me, but this cop got his fifis hurt. Because Tyreek Hill decided to utilize his First Amendment right to be able to say whatever the hell he wants, and the cop got his feelings hurt. He turned into a gentle little snowflake.
Yeah.
Because he told him to do his job.
Yeah. And then cops know that all they have to do to allow themselves to get away with a situation is say that their life was at risk. They felt that their life was at risk. Once they mention that, everything goes out the window.
Yep, absolutely. Words hurt him for some reason, even though he has a badge and a gun. Jeez.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out.
Get out.
So that's where I'm going to stop it.
Yeah.
But you guys know how this goes, right? Y'all know how this goes. And the thing is, it's like Tyreek Hill, all he did was, like, what was the actual crime?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many times have those officers pull someone over for speeding, and then just gave them the ticket and went about their day?
And the thing is, even if that was like a $500 ticket, Tyreek Hill got it.
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
He got it.
Yeah, and would he? And then, like you had mentioned earlier about it's an expensive car. I mean, do you know what Tyreek Hill had to go through to get that car? The type of work that he had to do and put himself through to be able to afford that. But again, to kind of just piggyback on the use of force of the police, this is the same state where we saw George Zimmerman get away with killing Trayvon Martin, right? That sparked a massive movement. And you saw the support that Zimmerman got from the police department, from politicians in Florida that were, you'd stand your ground, right? So I wanted to talk about that because it almost kind of coincided almost to the date when 8 years ago Colin Kaepernick first spoke out, right? And it was election year. It was Trump running for the first time against Hillary. And what have we seen since then? Have we seen any change? No, we've just seen more dead bodies, more money for the police. We've seen our communities be completely gutted out to fund the police department. I live here in LA, and the police budget is billions of dollars, yet our communities are shattered, right? Schools are closing down to build apartment high rises. That's the reality. And I wanted to highlight that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the criminalization of homelessness, and the police are being used in order to push the homeless people out. And if they are doing something illegal according to city ordinances, then they're placed in prison or placed in jail. And then they are basically being used by the state to, participate in prison labor, which somebody like Kamala Harris is all for, by the way, because she also wanted to put as many people in prison as possible to keep the slave labor in prison up. So that's what she did. Yeah. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but it's true.
Yeah, it's very true. And in California here, and or at least here where I'm at in LA, the future looks kind of grim because we have the Olympics coming. We have, the FIFA World Cup coming. And now with this criminalization of homelessness, we're seeing that there's going to be a massive push towards putting our unhoused folks in prisons when they shouldn't be. They should be taken care of and put in housing.
Abraham, let me ask you, but you live in California. That's a blue state. That's a blue city. What do you mean? Isn't that a liberal paradise?
It's funny because I think California is a perfect example of how liberalism is a dead end. I recently wrote a report because I spent 6 months talking to folks who were in solitary confinement and organizers who are trying to push the Mandela Act. And for the third year in a row, the Democratic darling of Gavin Newsom said no. So he supports solitary confinement, which is, according to the UN, it is considered torture. And he supports it. Right. At the same time, he also denied because one part of the bill was to allow vulnerable populations to not be in solitary confinement, that being pregnant women. And he said no, they should be in solitary confinement as well. So yeah, this is where liberalism gets you. You get you a person smiling at you while they're stabbing you in the back.
Yeah. So whether you're in a blue state like California or a red state like Florida, either way, the police state gets support from both parties.
Yep.
Man.
100%.
Yep. Yeah. So let's go into Tyreek Hill's press conference here. Sorry, they're trying to hang on. They're trying to do the whole.
Tyreek,
there we go. Sorry, guys.
Tyreek, before we talk about the game, can we go through what you experienced? What was what happened?
Right now, so I've been trying to figure that out too. Man. Right now, I'm still trying to put it all together. So I'm not gonna give you a version that I still don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? But I do want to be able to use this platform to say, like, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill, bro? Like, worst case scenario, because it's crazy. Like, I want to be a cop one day. I got a state trooper, had all that, so I got a lot of respect for cops, man. But obviously, everybody has bad apples in every situation, so.
No, Tyreek. No. Absolutely not, brother. Hang on. Wait a minute. Listen, Tyreek, you just the poor.
Yeah, I think he's also probably aware that the owner of the Dolphins is a big Trump supporter and police, and you gotta.
I know you gotta play the game, bro.
Yeah.
You could have just kept that part out, bro.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's just funny because that press conference was 2-3 hours after that incident, and you can't even think of the distress of going through that and then going to work.
He should have called in sick after that.
You know what I mean? Sorry, I'm behind bars. Like, I'm not, to stay focused and play the game, and then after you're done, in a room full of media trying to question where you haven't, like you said, I haven't even been able to process it yet because I had to go to work.
Yeah, because he literally got arrested before a game.
Yeah.
And he went and still played the game. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But Tyreek, that whole bad apple, no. The entire tree is rotten.
Exactly.
Oh boy.
I want to be able to, use this platform, to figure out a way to, like, flip this and, make it a positive on both ends, on my end and then also Miami-Dade, so that way we can team together and, do something positive for the community, because that's what it's all about, bro. Like, you guys are here to, like, protect us as individuals, and I have a platform and I want to be able to team up with you guys. So that's all I got to say. So
he's trying to be very careful.
Very careful.
Yeah, because look, okay, I'm gonna be honest. If me and Tyreek were alone, just chilling and talking, he would have put them on blast. I have a feeling he would have just, these guys. He said these guys ain't ish. They're terrible. They were a bunch of racist cops and blah blah blah. He would have went off. But the fact that he's in front of cameras, and the fact that who his boss is, and the fact that he's in the state of Florida, if he would have said anything, DeSantis would have been on his back like that.
And you also have to take into consideration what happened to his coworkers, to his colleagues. Colin Kaepernick couldn't get a job after that year, right?
Yep.
Completely.
And he's trying to keep that face.
Yeah. And that's a long history in sports. I mean, we saw that in the early 90s in the NBA with Craig Hodges, who was an outstanding shooter and spoke out for the Black community and couldn't find a job afterwards. So I think a lot of these athletes are very, very aware of that, and especially in the NFL. the owners will flex their power and make sure that you don't have another day to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. He says a little bit more. Let's continue.
Tyreek, why do you believe the police put you in handcuffs?
I have no idea, for real.
You know exactly why. What? Look, here's the thing.
And he has that smile. He knows. He just doesn't want to say it.
Yeah. Tyreek, come on, bro. Look, you could still voice that without it being anything controversial. You could say, "Oh, I know exactly why."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, see, here's the thing a lot of people don't realize. He's still a worker, so therefore, and he uses his labor in order to put his body on the line.
Yeah.
Even though he's a high-paid worker, he's still a worker. And so he still has to toe the line so that he doesn't suffer.
Yeah.
Which is something that we all have to do as workers.
Yeah. And he's a unionized worker at that. Even though I put that on the article, the NFL union is probably one of the worst in all of professional sports in the U.S., but that's for another discussion because we can get into the weeds in that one.
Yep. Oh man, Tyreek. I feel bad hearing him. I have to toe this line, man. It just
because his face is telling you that he knows why, but he just has to verbally play the line and play the role to for the sake
it's like he's biting his tongue, man. Ooh.
No idea, man. It's crazy. No idea. It wasn't disrespectful, because my mom didn't raise me that way. Didn't cuss, didn't do none of that. So, like I said, I'm still trying to figure it out, man.
I guess the police officer was put on administrative leave. Were you aware of that? And
Nah, I wasn't. That should tell you everything you need to know then. You feel me?
Then that means you know exactly why they pulled you over.
Yep. Yeah. And then the other part too is that later on in the video, some of his teammates were pulling over to try to assist, and the police threatened them with being arrested. Like they just went all out against anyone that was trying to be there for Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
I mean, it should tell you everything you need to know. So that's all I'm gonna say about that situation. I'm just glad that my teammates were there to support me in that situation because I felt alone, and when they showed up, it made me realize that we got a fucking good team this year, dog. For them to put their life on the line. You know what I'm saying? So it was amazing to see, man. So
was it on your mind when the game started? Or were you able to completely move on?
You know what? The thing about me, man, I have a great support system at home, man, from my wife, from my mom, and then even when I come inside the locker room with my teammates, man. So I was able to pray with my family, able to talk to my wife, calm down a little bit, and I was straight, man. Because I know at the end of the day, I still got a job to do. You feel me? And nobody worried about if Reek come in, if he dropped 3 passes because he's still thinking about the little scenario. Nobody thinking about that, man. I still got a job to do. So
this also speaks to what a lot of men are plagued with.
Mm-hmm.
We do not get space to have to deal with issues that may traumatize us or put us in any bad emotional headspace. We have to you just gotta wave it away and just do what you need to do. And it's that's very anti-human because we're taught that your worth is in what you produce.
Mm-hmm.
Tyreek Hill should have been able to just go home and process what actually happened to him and not have to worry about missing a day of work. And how many of us, especially a lot of us men, within this system have to keep pushing, keep powering through and deny ourselves emotionally to be able to process through trauma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say men and women because we're all going to be targeted by the police no matter what. And one of the things that I also wanted to highlight in the article was a research that was done through NYU where black men are pulled over more than anyone else. And then they compared because they did a scan of over 100 million records across the country, that at night when you are less likely to tell if the driver is black, white, or whatever race, that the percentage of black men being pulled over went down. So that just tells you that there is a bias in when police drivers are patrolling our neighborhoods.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Boy.
We don't have time under capitalism to deal with our trauma and what happens to us. We just have to, keep working.
Yeah. The thing is like Jason Turner said, you can't let your team down. I get that. Yeah, but at the same time, also taking care of yourself also means taking care of your team too.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And what if he couldn't shake that feeling during the game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that could have ruined his potential career, because then it's like, oh, he can't handle adversity or he can't handle this. When in reality, it's like, man, let him give him his time to process all this and be with his family.
Yeah. If I was the coach, I would have said, go home.
Yeah.
I would tell him to go home.
Yeah.
Got a family to feed. I gotta be a leader of this team. I gotta find ways to bounce through adversity. No matter or whenever it hits. So,
how do you answer that question? What if you weren't Tyreek Hill?
It's hard, man. Still trying to figure that out. It's all across the world, man. You see it. I don't want to bring it race into it, but sometimes it gets kind of iffy when you do. You feel me? So, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? Lord knows, like, what that guy or guys would have did. You feel me? And I was just making sure that, I was doing what my uncle always told me to do whenever you in a situation like that. Just listen. Put your hands on the steering wheel. Just listen. So
he had to talk, just like I had to talk, just like I gave my nephew to talk.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That is very and it's funny. Remember when I got to talk as a kid, I was like, man, this is never gonna happen. And then, kid you not, within the first few weeks of driving as a 17-year-old, got pulled over, and I was like, oh shit, what did my dad say? Oh yeah, he's put everything up front, and it's and again, you just have to go about your day, go to work, and continue your day, even though you did nothing wrong. You just drive it.
Somebody came up with this device where you put your license, registration, as soon as you get pulled over, you have this pocket, and you put your license, your registration, everything in it, and you hang it on the window, and you pull the window up till it just is cracked. So then the officer, all they have to do is just grab it and do what they need to do. We shouldn't even have to have devices invented like that.
Nope.
For that purpose.
Yep. Yeah. But they see us as criminals. They see us as a threat to their livelihood. And so everything that the system created policing is to criminalize us,
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So, and just a little bit more, and then we'll finish.
Gotta be careful, man.
Did an officer put hands on you when you were in handcuffs?
Yeah.
What was going through your head during that moment?
I don't know. I was thinking about something else. What was I thinking about? I was thinking about going for like 150 today, for real. I was on the way. I was like, man, I'm finna go crazy today, man. You feel me? Then all that happened, and I'm like, hold on, is this happening? So it happened. It happened so fast that it caught me off guard. You feel me? Because I'm like, dang, they really doing this.
Why did they even pull you over, Tyreek?
They said I was speeding, but I don't. They said I was speeding, reckless driving, whatever. So
How much planning went into
Did the officer
that?
know who you were? And
I have no idea. No idea.
So were you able to say that I'm about to play a game?
I wasn't raised like that. The name drop or flash. You feel me? Like, if you say I did something, write me a ticket, because I'm a normal person too. If you say I did something, write me a ticket. Do whatever you got to do. You feel me? But I'm just saying, like, don't be disrespectful. You feel me? Because I don't know.
How much planning went into that?
So even then, he did not use his status as an NFL player to try to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like he could have said, I'm Tyreek Hill. Like, how you gonna try to arrest me for trying to go to my game? He didn't even use it.
Nope, he didn't. And I think most officers who work the game and work the stadiums, because I've been watching other interviews, they know whose car is who. Like they're familiar with who's coming in that Lamborghini or Porsche or whatever it is. But for some reason, you know, the cops felt empowered to do what they did, and you know, that's why we're here.
Yep, absolutely. Now, while we're talking about what's going on, you know, there was also a particular issue that happened. I want to touch on this while we're in Florida. This happened in Orlando recently, and I know you probably are not aware of this, but this happened here in Orlando, in the Orlando Police Department, just while we're on the subject of police brutality. And then I'll get to this other big story that happened involving the Department of Justice. But it says a couple of folks I care about down here in Florida were arrested at a protest for Lebanon. 8 in total were arrested. I'm raising funds for their bail. Out of all the times I've asked y'all to boost, this one I need for real. I'm going to link the bail fund below. So this happened here in Orlando.
Wow.
So they're literally protesting what happened. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but you guys understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, here is the link I'm going to put in for the legal fund for you guys. If you guys can, please make sure to, if you guys can share and donate for their bail fund so that they can beat this, because all they were doing was protesting, you know, the crime that Israel did to Lebanon. And that's not fair that they have to experience police brutality for, you know, wanting to help, you know, liberate people who are being attacked by the state of Israel.
Yeah. And like that report shows, you know, Florida's top 3 in the nation when it comes to use of force, shootings, and tasing. So that's part of the course of their department and their training and how they see, you know, anyone that's protesting or demanding justice, they're going to use brutality to get to squander it. So
yeah. So I just wanted to share that really quick, because I know that you know, I wanted to make sure to help out, you know, people who are fighting for liberation here in Orlando. So one of the things I actually wanted to get into was a story that happened back in 2023. This one is probably one of the most egregious stories that I have ever heard in my life. And this actually has to do with 2 Black men being tortured and even sexually assaulted by cops. 6 cops, in fact. So Tamara Sharif Muhammad says, why didn't this make national news? Let's get into this. I'm not going to play the entire thing, but I think this is deeply important. This was covered on Democracy Now!
A warning to our audience, this next segment contains descriptions and images of police violence. We turn now to Mississippi, where 6 white former police officers who called themselves the Goon Squad have pleaded guilty to raiding a home and torturing 2 Black men earlier this year, after first trying to cover up their actions. Some of the officers face life in prison. On January 24th, court records show the deputies raided a home in Braxton, Mississippi, after a white neighbor of one of the officers called them to complain there were Black men staying there. The officer texted the others, quote, "Are y'all available for a mission?" That night, without a warrant, the officers burst into the home, handcuffed, beat, tasered the 2 men, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. also sexually abused them with a sex toy with shouting racial slurs. One of the officers put a gun in Jenkins' mouth for a mock execution and pulled the trigger. The bullet lacerated Jenkins' tongue, broke his jaw, exited through his neck. This is U.S. Attorney Darren LaMarca last week announcing.
This is the police. This is the police in our country.
Oh man, I was
just a few bad apples.
Oh man, yeah, that's it's when people try to defend the police and say that, you know, just a few bad apples. It's we just got to do better training, need better people in there, whatever the excuse is. You cannot have justice on an institution that was founded on patrolling slavery. You can't. The whole thing is rotten. You need to uproot it, remove it, destroy it, and build something better. That was.
And look, for anybody who may want to say, well, that was, you know, in the South, you know, Democrat cities, they don't do things like this. I would beg them to look up LAPD gangs.
Google LASD gangs, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yep. LASD gangs. That's also a clue to it goes across the board.
Yep.
Federal charges against the former officers for the attack.
But not only did they brazenly commit these acts, but after inflicting serious bodily injury by firing a shot through one of the victim's mouths, they left him lying in a pool of blood. Gathered on the porch of the house to discuss how to cover it up. What indifference, what disregard for life.
After the attack, Michael Corey Jenkins was actually charged with a felony based on methamphetamine the officers said they found in the raid. But records show that was a lie, and the charge was dropped. In fact, the deputies planted drugs to devise an excuse for the raid and also stole surveillance video from the house. Their body cameras were off.
So they basically framed the victim as well as they tampered with evidence.
Yep. And I think it's safe to say that they probably will keep their job. They'll probably get, you know, transferred somewhere, or maybe take a year off. Another thing too is that they were. How many times have they done this? They already have their own nickname, right? The Goon Squad. Yeah. I can only imagine how many times they've harassed people, brutalized people that wasn't reported.
Well, we'll get into what happened to them in a second.
Okay.
Because I do know, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be talking about that in a second.
Okay.
Court documents said the officers used the name Goon Squad, quote, because of their willingness to use excessive force and not to report it. The Associated Press found the deputies were linked to at least 4 violent attacks on Black men since 2019. 2 of the men died. For more, we're joined by Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, as well as Malik Shabazz, a civil rights attorney with Black Lawyers for Justice who's representing them. We welcome you all to Democracy Now! Malik, let's begin with you. Can you talk about how this case was exposed, how we saw these officers charged, and what you understand about their background, this not being the first vicious attack?
Okay, thank you for having us on. I want to say before we get started that that Michael and Eddie will only be speaking, that they cannot speak about the specific details of what happened in that house that night, but they can talk about their reactions to the guilty verdicts and to their pain and suffering. And Michael is suffering because half of his face is numb. But because we have sentencing coming up, so we're under certain sensitive legal guidelines. But we're happy to be on with such a progressive audience. This case was brought to light through the determination of Black Lawyers for Justice, of myself as the attorney for Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, and Mississippi Counsel Trent Walker. From early January, we have advocated strongly and vigorously in every way. And we have worked with community activists in Mississippi and throughout the country in order to bring the truth that is coming to light today, that these defendants, Hunter Elwood, Christian Dedman, Brett McAlpin, Middleton, Osdike, and Joshua Hartfield, that they're called the Rankin County Goon Squad. They're known in the community as the Rankin County Death Squad. This has been occurring for a long time under the leadership of Sheriff Brian Bailey, who should be the subject of criminal investigation also.
This goes to the systemic racism.
Wow.
This is a systemic issue. And so when people talk about, oh, it's just a few bad apples, no, this goes all the way to the top.
Mm-hmm. And he lays it out right there too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because a lot of Black people think that we just need to fix the system by reforming it, unfortunately. But you can't reform this.
Mm-mm.
And they have been getting away with this so long that they felt emboldened to act in such a radical and callous way on that night of January 24th, 2023. But it's through persistence. It's through intense legal advocacy, with us advocating to the U.S. Justice Department, collecting evidence and applying legal pressure and all kinds of pressure to bring about what is now historic. Last Thursday, these 6 defendants pled guilty to 14 federal criminal charges. They'll plead guilty to more state charges Monday. This is the first time, democracy now, this is the first time that a white Mississippi police officer has ever been held criminally responsible for harming a Black person. And we...
First time.
Wow.
First time being held criminally responsible.
And we know damn sure that's not the first time this happened.
Nope.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's my first time watching this. I didn't get a chance to look into it.
Yeah.
Know that plenty of police brutality has occurred not only in Rankin County under Brian Bailey, but throughout the state of Mississippi. This is a history-making moment. I'm just so sorry it had to come on the backs of the pain and the suffering, the torture and the shooting and the abuse and waterboarding of Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, our clients.
And waterboarding. They were waterboarded. This is something that was deemed as torture when the Bush administration did it as well to detainees that were in Guantanamo Bay.
Mm-hmm. It was deemed torture. Yeah. And to hear that this is the first time, I mean, I can only imagine that Lawyers Association is probably getting inundated now with so many other incidents that's happened, because, hopefully it empowers people to come up and speak out more. But it's just, if that's not an indictment on the system, I don't know what is.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So now, just let you guys know, this actually just happened. So it says the Justice Department opened civil rights probe of sheriff's office after torture of 2 black men. This story came out 3 days ago. So it says the Justice Department has opened a civil rights investigation into Mississippi Sheriff's Department, who officers tortured 2 black men in racist attacks that include beatings, repeated use of stun guns, and assault with a sex toy before one of the victims was shot in the mouth. It says the Justice Department will investigate whether the Rankin County Sheriff's Department has engaged in a pattern of practice of excessive force and unlawful stops, searches, and arrests, and whether it used racially discriminatory policing practices, according to Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark. So it says this attack was engaged in hours long to Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. So this was going on for hours.
It's disgusting. That is
This
disgusting.
is horrible. These poor men. It says some of the officers were part of a group willing to use excessive force, called themselves the Goon Squad. All 6 were sentenced in March, receiving terms of 10 to 40 years. Now, so
wow.
They said the Justice Department has received information about other troubling incidents, including deputies overusing stun guns, entering homes unlawfully, and using shocking racial slurs, and employing dangerous, crucial tactics to assault people in their custody. So this is systemic.
So James, you're telling me that what happened to all the good cops? Why didn't they rat them out or arrest them when they knew about it? Where are all the good cops at, James?
You know what? I'll say this. If there were good cops, this stuff would have been uncovered years ago.
Yep.
And the good cops would have been praised and uplifted. If there were actually good cops, they wouldn't get fired, they wouldn't get sued, and they wouldn't get harassed by other cops for speaking out. But instead, they do.
Yep.
Because if you're a cop and you speak out against other cops, guess what? That blue wall comes against you too.
Yep. You cannot turn on your fellow policeman when you're a cop. So there is no such thing as a good cop, right?
No.
They don't speak
When
out.
we
They
say
don't.
all cops are bad. That's what ACAB means. All cops are bad. It means all.
Yeah. 100%. As we saw with George Floyd, the cop that was just watching Derek put his knee on there, just watching, literally just holding his shirt. Just holding his shirt, just doing nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Because that even goes into the cops that were just standing by. So here's some of the details. Once inside the home, the officers handcuffed Jenkins and Parker and poured milk, alcohol, and chocolate syrup over their faces while mocking them with racial slurs. They forced them to strip naked and shower together to conceal the mess. They mocked the victims with racial slurs and assaulted them with sex objects. It says locals saw the grisly details of the case echoes of Mississippi's history of racist atrocities by people in authority. The difference this time is those who abuse their power paid a steep price for their crimes, attorneys for the victims have said. So ultimately, this happens on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I want to share this about one of the officers that was also arrested. So one of the sheriffs was arrested
on something else, or he already had like a somewhat of a history of abusive behavior? Or
yeah, one of them actually that was I think I passed it. One of the ones that was arrested, he was part of another one. Oh yeah. It says a 6th officer from the Richland Police Department was also convicted in the attack. So one of them was there, and he didn't really do much, but he was still convicted because he stood by. And so because he stood by, then he was also convicted because he did not do anything to stop it.
Yeah.
That's the part I was looking for, but I got lost a little bit. But this is one of the points that I also wanted to make. It says the attacks on Jenkins and Parker began on January 24, 2023, with a racist call for the extrajudicial violence, according to federal prosecutors. It says a white person phoned Deputy Brett McAlpin and complained that the 2 black men were staying with a white woman at the house in Braxton. Why am I not surprised that it starts with a white woman?
Yeah. And in Mississippi.
Meaning they got mad because 2 black men were staying in the house with a white woman. You don't know who that white woman was to them.
Yeah. Mind your business.
What does this remind me of? This is remind me of Emmett Till.
Yeah.
Because they thought that he whistled at a white woman.
The lies that because they're a white woman, they come out as the truth to others.
Yep. Yeah. Or does this remind me of what happened to in Black Wall Street? Right.
Yeah.
Black Wall Street, that burning down of that town.
Yeah.
Was because of an accusation from a white woman that somehow, I guess, he bumped into her or something. And then they burned down the whole entire town. Still over 300 people.
Yeah. Completely destroyed a community that probably would have been thriving even now, or even probably would have even gotten larger too, to be honest.
Yeah. So yes, the Department of Justice is now investigating the police department. And, I think this is indicative of, this is why people like myself are against people like Kamala Harris. Because even though she would say, oh, this is egregious, we shouldn't stand for this, blah, blah, blah. My thing is that she's also one of those people who stands behind the police officers way more than she'll ever stand behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's her political history too, her resume. She's always stand up and supports the police. She's spoken at AIPAC. She's nothing different than we've experienced under Obama, Bush, or Clinton. She's just part of the same Democratic machine.
Yeah, and then I want to go into this because this doesn't have to do completely with just how police are their treatment of black people. I want you to show you a story about police brutality against a white man. Have you ever heard of Rhyker Earl? Well, this happened recently. Let's get into this story. Rhyker Earl was a white man that's a victim of police brutality. I would like white people to come into the chat and let me know, are you ready to march?
Detention is underway for 26-year-old Rhyker Earl. His family reeling tonight after they say a call to 911 for a medical emergency ended with the young father of 2 dead, and the family blaming responding officers.
I will be his voice that he no longer has.
Miracle Galinsky is now left mourning after witnessing the final moments of her nephew, Rhyker Earl's life. It comes after she says his grandmother called police on the night of September 8th because he was suffering from a seizure, the second one that same day, when Jasper County deputies and paramedics responded to his home again on the Bahama Drive at the Island Grove Mobile Home Park in DeMont. Instead of help, his aunt says her family received long-lasting heartache after he was handcuffed and pinned to the floor.
He was pleading for his life.
Was there any point where you tried to intervene?
Yes.
And what happened?
I was ignored.
After the ordeal, the 26-year-old was placed on life support and died 2 days later. In a statement, the Jasper County Sheriff's Office confirmed the call, but did not detail what happened when crews arrived. Instead,
of course they didn't.
Nope, they didn't.
And the fact is, all this over a man having a seizure.
Oh man.
How many of us, because I'm disabled, how many of us disabled, we may call for help, and then next thing you know, police show up and we end up either harmed or dead for experiencing the disability that we may have.
Yeah. And why do we live in a system where if someone's having some kind of, distress, it's emotionally, physically, where we're taught to call 911.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like tell us.
Yeah. Let's continue.
saying they've requested Indiana State Police to investigate and forwarding all questions to that agency.
He was my only brother, my only sibling. My child isn't going to have an uncle, and my niece and my nephew are no longer going to have a father.
As family and friends gathered today at Graceway Bible Baptist Church to say their final goodbyes, their calls for answers only grow louder.
I'll make sure that his kids know that he loved them.
And this is just very unfortunate. It did not need to happen. We should not be here today.
So that's what happened with Rhyker, according to the media, according to the police.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you guys what the attorneys said as well, and the family has said, because we always go by what the police say. Oh, police say this, this is that. No. Let's go by what the people who are actually there, what they said. So this was posted on Instagram. It says for immediate release. This was a few days ago on September 16th. It says on September 8, 2024, 26-year-old Rhyker Earl experienced a medical emergency around 8:30 p.m. He underwent severe seizure at home in DeMont, Indiana. His grandmother called 911 for emergency assistance. EMTs from Keener Township Emergency Medical Services and officers from the Jasper County Sheriff's Office respond. While they were on the scene, Rhyker was in a postical state, trying to recover from his seizure. He was confused and agitated, typical symptoms for someone who has just suffered a severe seizure. As Rhyker was trying to put on shorts to go to the hospital for medical attention, he lost his balance and fell onto an officer. At the time, officers became aggressive, yelling, "You don't treat law enforcement that way." Officers took Rhyker on the ground and handcuffed him face down on the floor. Multiple officers then remained on top of Rhyker while EMTs administered 3 separate doses of sedatives. Some of the EMTs on the scene have responded earlier in the day to a different location when Rhyker had another less severe seizure. They knew he was undergoing a medical emergency, and they also knew he had asthma. Officers stayed on top of Rhyker for more than 15 minutes with his face in a pillow. During this time, Rhyker begged for his life and screamed that he couldn't breathe. His pleas and those of his aunt and grandmother were ignored. And after 15 minutes, Rhyker went limp. His aunt noticed that Rhyker was blue in the face and pleaded with EMTs to do something. After an agonizing few minutes, they finally took Rhyker's pulse and realized he was not breathing. Rhyker was taken to the hospital, but it was too late. After tests confirmed Rhyker had no brain activity, life support measures were terminated on September 10th. Now, National Civil Rights Attorney, Ben Crump, along with Indiana Attorney Stephen Wagner, have been retained by Rhyker's family to investigate the circumstances surrounding his death. So, at this early stage, are still many unanswered questions. Why was Rhyker treated like a criminal, not a patient? Why did officers ignore the obvious risk of prone restraint? Why did they ignore his pleas that he could not breathe? The family's attorneys intended to fully investigate this matter and hold all responsible for Rhyker's needless death accountable. So, like somebody said here, EMTs are also culpable because they knew better.
Man, that's when you read the details, it's just brutal. It's harsh.
Yeah.
It's the trauma the family has to go with, the trauma that the kids have to deal with now of not having their loved one, when all of this could have been prevented.
Yep, absolutely. And, you know, for people who don't know, and I want to share this as well before we end this segment, one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys is here's something that a lot of people do not realize about people who suffer seizures. So they talk about this case here about Rhyker Earl.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go over the details here, but it says Earl's not the first person to run into conflict with law enforcement after a seizure. The Epilepsy Foundation has the Gene A. Carpenter Epilepsy Legal Defense Fund to help people with epilepsy with legal issues. Many of them relate to what happens after a seizure. According to the Cleveland Clinic, not everyone who experiences a seizure goes through the post-tictal state, but many people do. It says this is according to the Epilepsy Foundation. During the period, a person is easily frightened, upset, and unable to communicate effectively and may become belligerent or aggressive, especially when approached, as he or she may perceive this as a threat. A cardinal rule in the handling of any seizure is that the person should not be restrained in any way unless it is essential for personal safety or the safety of others. Restraint of persons during or soon after a seizure may exacerbate or precipitate combativeness and the opposite effect of an intended result. As one's resistance to restraint increases, the threat of his life may similarly increase. Restraining someone face down and or with his arms restricted behind his back is especially dangerous. So this is what you don't do after a seizure.
Oh man, that is rough. And again, how many times do you think this happens and police officers get away with it, right?
Yep.
And it's a rotten system. It's a rotten department. But that's the daily diet of poor working class people, is having to deal with these policemen and a racist institution that sees us as criminals. Yep. Like you read in that report that says that when the guy accidentally bumped into him, it's like, that's not how you treat law enforcement. Like, by accidentally bumping into you, like, I'm sorry. Like, who do you think you are?
My question is, first of all, why was police there in the first place?
True. Yeah.
See, here's the thing. When we talk about defunding police, and Nick is one of the co-founders of 10 Demands for Justice, as well as Zoya. She's in the chat. Good to see you, Zoya. We talk about defunding the police and rerouting resources to subjects like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because what should have happened were mental health professionals and EMTs should have been the only ones on the scene.
Yep.
Because then they would have said, you just had a seizure, just leave him alone, just stay here and monitor as he recovers and gets out of that state.
Yeah.
Right? To just make sure that he doesn't, harm anybody. And that's it. police officers should have never been on the scene because police are not trained for these type of situations.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, what
The
you're
last
describing
thing is people like police on the scene.
Yeah, what you're describing is a just world with resources going to the community, into these health professions. I mean, it's really bizarre how liberals really see that the police are the one and all call for everything help, and they're not. You call for help and they come in and they end your life.
Yeah,
that's not help.
Yeah, Sela, I'll try to do that as well. But thank you very much. But that's the point that I think that needs to be talked about, is why are we leaving our safety in the hands of an institution that has a history with white supremacy and classism? Why are we leaving our safety in the hands of these thugs? Why are we leaving our safety in the hands of these goons that basically are there to just protect property and not the lives of the very citizens whom they apparently swear to protect?
100%. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I fully support the alternative of overthrowing this and building something, more just and for the people. We have the resources, we have the people. It's just being able to organize and to get to that point.
Well, and yes, I mean, because you've spoken very clearly about this, and I want to also get your thoughts before we head out. What is some of the solutions in your mind that would actually help our situation better in regards to real public safety?
Besides revolution,
all right, we're done.
You can't reform the system, man. You can't. We can lean on each other as community, right? Organize and help each other out and be able to provide that buffer. But besides revolution, we're going to be dealing with these same goons, with these same racist cops, and we have to overthrow this, unfortunately.
Yeah, because unfortunately, these are the people who are, I'd say, the muscle of the system. If the system is like a mafia, the muscle is the police.
Yeah, I mean, the system is definitely a mafia. And you're right. The police are the muscle. They're the ones that allow them to do what they do, because then they fully militarize the police to keep us down, right? And you see that also in the U.S.-Mexico border. Every president leaves a mark there. It gets further militarized. More guns and bullets on that border when people are just trying to get here for survival, for work. Yeah, and they're met with the brutality of what it's like in the belly of the beast.
Yeah, and this goes to police. This even goes to Border Patrol agents, ICE. They are all within that system, because here's the thing. You got some people who are flocking here because of the damage that our country's doing in their countries, and they're having to come here undocumented. And then they're waiting for them. It's the same people that bash us in the head, that suffocates us so that we die, the same ones that push us into the ground or that shoots us dead for just existing. These are the same people that are at the border too.
Yep, 100%. And then where does the company that is hired to build these borders and build these walls to divide us even furthermore is the same company that's building the borders in Palestine.
Yep.
So,
and they're the ones who are also being trained by the IOF.
100% to brutalize us. Yeah.
Man, this is an ongoing thing that we need to just keep monitoring. Also, one thing I will say is that if you are out and you see somebody being detained by police, try, if you can, because we all can't always do this, but if you have the time and if you can, stop and watch them, because you may be a deterrent from them doing worse.
Yeah.
And then you may end up saving somebody's life because they have eyes on them. and pull up your phone.
Yeah.
And don't even hit record. Go live.
Yeah.
Just go live. I don't care if it's TikTok. I don't care if it's YouTube. I don't care if it's Twitter. Whatever. Go live.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that before, and to my surprise, by me and my partner doing it, other people, I guess, got the courage too. And so I look around, I'm like, oh damn, I'm not the only one recording now. And it kind of de-escalated the situation, because then the officer's like, oh shit, I don't want to do something and then trigger a movement. So it helped de-escalate the situation for sure.
Yeah. And also, just so you guys know, while we're talking about this, I think Khalif Mitchell is still on death row, and he's set to be murdered by the state in 2 days, I think it was.
Earlier today.
I'm sorry?
I saw that earlier today too.
I'm sorry, Marcellus Williams.
What state is it in?
Let me see. I think it's in Missouri.
Missouri.
So yes, Marcellus Williams. I think it's, let me see, it says in 5 days. That was on September 19th. So I think it's supposed to be in a couple of days. They're going to be killing him. This is Marcellus Williams. I actually talked about this story a few weeks ago here on RBN. He is set to be killed by the state in a couple of days. So Marcellus Williams, if you guys can also spread the story about him as well, so that they can stay his execution. But Marcellus Williams is also to be executed by the state, an innocent man. See, this is why I'm also against the death penalty, because one innocent person getting caught up and murdered is one innocent person too many.
Yeah.
This is why I'm against the death penalty.
Yeah. Yeah. And under capitalism, if you make one mistake, it just can ruin your whole life.
Yeah.
There's no path to, reconstruction or to building yourself even better or to work on anything, but it's just complete. Yeah. They don't see life as valuable.
Yep, absolutely. So with that being said, if you can, I know I kept you long past when
you're good, man. You're good.
But I wanted you to also highlight some of the projects that you're doing, as well as what you have coming up in the future.
Yeah, so I'm working on a piece in California about child hunger. California actually ranks pretty low nationwide when it comes to feeding our children. And California is the third largest economy in the world, and it's a state. So we definitely do have the resources to be able to feed our children. So right now I'm still in the research reporting, and I've been talking to folks along LA County, San Diego County, going to be making my way up to Central Valley to talk to folks who rely on government programs to be able to feed their kids, and how difficult it is to go through that process.
Can you come back on so we can talk about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, once it's done, I'll send it out to you.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Everybody, Abraham Márquez, thank you so very much for joining, and it was a privilege to have you.
Man, thank you, man. I feel honored to be on your show, man. Been a big fan.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right. I'll see you on the interwebs.
All right. See ya.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, folks. So we got to talk. We got to keep our minds, got to be vigilant, especially when it comes to police brutality, because ultimately they are the agents of the state, and the agents of the state will continuously oppress you in order to keep you in line to essentially make wealth and resources for the corporate parasites that own them, essentially. And remember this, because a lot of people will say, well, they're there to protect and serve you. Go ahead and look it up. Google it. The police do not have a constitutional duty to protect you. Google it. Do not listen to me. Do your research. They do not have a constitutional duty to protect you or me. That is from the United States Supreme Court. So if they don't have a constitutional duty to protect you or I, then what are they doing out here in these streets? Yeah, I see the hamster running on the wheel on your head now. This is why we talk about defunding the police on the road to abolition. And abolishing the police doesn't mean we just don't have any type of law enforcement, no public safety apparatus, and then people are just running amok doing whatever they want. No, we rebuild the public safety system in the reflection that protects the people by obligation. So if you ask me, am I against all police in principle? No. For instance, the police in places like Cuba, they're there to protect the people, right? You know, and guaranteed they're held accountable way more than the police here. So my thing is like we need an actual public safety system that is there for protecting human beings rather than property. And once we get that system where we have public safety that's there for human beings, well then we'll actually be safe. Thank you very much. Go ahead and give a like. Thank you very much to Abraham Márquez. Let's get into the comments in the chat, and then we'll get into our positive story. I'm going to go to, let's go into the Rockfin chat first. This was deep, y'all. All right. So, first of all, Roger says, before doing the good news story, I think this link is the perfect way to lead up to the why or solution why. Okay, I will get to that in a second, Roger. Right, I'll do that as part of the good news story. I haven't seen this, but I'm pretty sure you're setting me up, you know, for success. So thank you very much for that. Okay, so Hempcard, thank you very much for the tip. He says there's a good PBS Frontline documentary about putting people in the prone position. A lot have suffocated this way because they don't turn people on their sides. Important life-saving info. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, Hempcard, I'm going to put this in the chat as well. Hempcard continues, says, this is worse than George Floyd. Were there any protests? I do not know of any. Hempcard says, we hung Japanese for waterboarding after World War II. Why would an ambulance not show up to a seizure? They say, I think PBS said 123 died between 2012 and 2015 from the prone position. Roger says, JB put me in contact with the 8-man you just had on. We would like to speak on CBIs for California Public Bank, CalCare, and robust competitive public financing and ballot measures. Okay, I'll give you this. I'll put him in contact with you. But yes, so let me see. So what I'm going to do here, where is it? Ah, there we go. So let me see this really quick from Hempcar. Wait, where'd it go? Where they at though? Oh, here it is. So this is from PBS, documenting police use of force. That's a Okay, it says Frontline in the Associated Press in collaboration with Howard Centers for Investigative Journalism investigate deaths that occurred after police used tactics like prone restraint and other less lethal force. The documentary and accompanying reporting draw on police records, autopsy reports, and body cam footage, offering the most expansive tally of such deaths nationwide. Interesting. Okay, so I will share this in the chat for the people, for the peeps, and then we'll get into the rest of the chat. Okay. All right. So I'm going to start off with the super chats and all that good stuff first. Jaybe says, I have a hard question for everybody non-Black person here. If every Black person were to either leave or disappear, do you think the U.S. would be better? Or do you now realize we are all stronger together? Last word for Chima. All right. Thank you very much to James Starks for the super sticker. Appreciate it very much. Thank you so much, and give a clap for Lauren L. for gifting 5 channel memberships. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. Let's go into this. Hello to Robbie Burns saying there's got to be some ride shares in Orlando. I wish. We're going to talk about that. It's going to be good. Let me see. Now we have CBC voters saying happy Sunday at Jaybe. Good to see a CBC voter. We have Sila saying if this were part of mutual aid service organization or work site, it would maybe help with the safety factor of rideshare. We're going to be getting into that. By the way, take the poll, guys. Or if you guys want to wait till after the story, you guys can take the poll afterwards. Lauren L says hello, good to see you. Terry Conley says greetings, Jaybe and comrades. All right. We have Vermont Bread Smith says free. I guess you meant free. Cobra Commander says, what is that? A snake and a golf flag? Chip Walters says check and love. Thank you very much. Ping One says driving while black. That's basically what happened to Tyreek Hill. Danny says, remember that hostage situation with the UPS driver in Miami? The cops were using innocent motorists as shelter from gunfire. Crazy, man. Gregor McIntosh says, hello, friends. Good to see you. Fire Repo says, absolutely not. The one good cop not saying anything about all the dirty ones. Yep, absolutely. I agree. Sila says, Jaybe, could you clip? Oh, yeah, I already went there. Soya says, but it's important to note that while racialized people are disproportionately targeted, over 50% of police violence impacts white people, and I feel the media wants to avoid those statistics and truth. White people, are you going against this police state that is constantly murdering people just like Rhyker Earl? I'm blanking on his name, but there's also a man that was killed just like George Floyd, but he was white. Are you ready to do what we do for our people? I hope you are. Collins says, hang on. Says, Jaybe covered criminalization of masking a anti-genocide protester was arrested in Nassau County, New York, for wearing a mask protesting Zionist land sales. That's another good story to get into. Unfortunately, people who are deciding to still mask, which is their body autonomy and prerogative, they are also being arrested by police, especially like if you're a good little Zionist liberal wearing one, they're not really going to do anything to you. But the fact that you dare protest Zionism, guess what? They're coming after you. Yeah, that also should be a really good story to cover. It, you know, it needs to be, you know, talked about as well. Let me see. And then I'll do two more. Let me see. Yep. Ellerm says justice for Jacob Blake. Sorry. Justice for Jacob Blake. Justice for Emmett Till. Absolutely. Bad Wolf says you don't need EMTs and armed men. I want a paramedic on my team. Abe's. We don't take orders from police officers. This isn't complicated. The thing is that the police are in the way, and are you going to move the police out of the way? The people with the badges and guns? You know, of course, justice for Sonia Massey. Yep. You know, Ben Crump has a lot. My thing is, I wish Ben Crump knew that this system is never going to work, and we actually need to change the system from the ground up. Exactly. Seizures are crimes. Since when having a seizure was a crime? Like, why are police showing up to this? Nobody invited their asses over there anyway. It wasn't a crime happening. Why does law enforcement have to be there for somebody suffering a medical issue? Threads says, to them, you don't matter as much that you'll actually not matter. Oh, you don't matter so much that you will actually not matter. Yep. Rami says they think these real health conditions are invented. All right, let's get into the more positive news story, because I really want to get into that. So let me see. So let's get into this. Drivers are wedding. Yo, I'm telling you, you guys are going to get a kick out of this. I am so happy to cover this story. This one is going to be a good one. So, drivers in Colorado and in New York have gotten some wins. Workers are winning. I am so happy about this. And I hope you guys are going to be happy about this too. So let's start off with what's going on in New York. All right, we got to go in New York. You know what I'm saying? You know, I got to do the accent because, the thing is we got to talk to our people out in the boroughs. Out in the boroughs. I'm from Jersey, so I gotta have some fun with my New York peeps. But first of all, we're gonna go here. This is out in more. Oh wait. Hang on. Roger Meadows, hang on. You sent me something. I almost forgot. Hang on. Let's start off with this first because Roger Meadows shared this with me. Hang on. Okay, yeah. Then we'll get into the boroughs. Okay, so this is out of More Perfect Union. Roger Meadows just sent me this. Says, new, we put 7 Uber and Lyft drivers in one room and had them open their apps. We found Uber paying different drivers different amounts for the same ride. Lyft, and it's proof corporations are using secret algorithms to pay workers less. All of our jobs could be next. Interesting. I'm not gonna be able to play all this because I do have to hard out at 3 p.m. But I can do a little bit. And let's see.
Why does Uber win? Well, because it's rigged in their favor, right?
In 2023, a law professor published a paper with shocking implications. Her research found that tech firms like Uber and Lyft were using secret algorithms to dictate what drivers earn based on facts.
Okay, so this has to do with Uber and Lyft. I'll save this for the next piece. So, with that being said, let's go into this one. This one has to do with Amazon. So thank you very much for that, Roger. So that'll factor into my next one, but about rideshares. But this was out of More Perfect Union. It says, breaking, hundreds of Amazon drivers at a facility in Queens, New York have formed a union with the Teamsters and are demanding the company recognize and bargain with them. Oh, baby. Isn't this good news? I am happy. They have actually organized with the Teamsters. Amazon, like, we just had on Chris Smalls last week with me and Savvy. We actually had a conversation with Chris Smalls about the warehouse workers forming the Amazon Workers Union, or the Amazon Labor Union, the ALU. Now you have Amazon drivers unionizing, and they're unionizing with the Teamsters. This is great news. I just want to share what the Teamsters actually put out, and we're going to read that release. They had a press release talking about what happened, and I'm pretty excited about it. I hope you are too. So this is from the Teamsters. It says Amazon drivers in Queens, New York join Teamsters Union. All right. It says drivers join hundreds of Amazon delivery workers from California, Illinois to organize with Teamsters. It says in New York, Amazon drivers across the 3 delivery service partners in New York City are demanding Amazon recognize their union and negotiate the Teamsters contract. The workers announced that a majority of drivers at each of the DSPs have signed authorization cards to organize with the Teamsters union and deliver the demand to Amazon this morning. The hundreds of Amazon drivers all operate out of the DBK4 Amazon delivery warehouse in Queens. Hundreds of Amazon delivery drivers from Queens will now have the full backing of more than 1.3 million Teamsters nationwide. That's from Sean O'Brien. The NLRB made clear that the Amazon has a legal obligation to bargain with its drivers and meet them at the negotiating table to improve wages, working conditions, safety standards, and everything in between. Amazon knows that time is up. These workers from Queens, along with Amazon Teamsters in Skokie, Illinois, and Palmdale, California, are going to get the Teamsters contracts they deserve. For over a year, the Queens-based drivers have been organizing for better working conditions and fair pay, including walking off the job last December against Amazon's union-busting tactics and unfair labor practices. The drivers there have been outspoken in their demands for consistent schedules, properly maintained trucks, and reasonable workloads. Today's announcement comes as Amazon DSP drivers nationwide organize in droves in a fight for better pay, safe working conditions, and a voice on the job, including Amazon Teamsters from Palmdale and Skokie, who are currently on strike and extending their picket lines to facilities across the country. Just this week, In response to growing pressures by Amazon workers organizing with the Teamsters, the company announced raises for Amazon drivers. We are proud to join the growing movement of Amazon Teamsters who are ready to fight alongside our union brothers and sisters for what we deserve, said David Colon, a Amazon driver from DBK4 in Queens. For too long, we have been demanding better pay and working conditions from Amazon while they have tried to dodge responsibility for us. Those days are over, and we're ready to fight like hell with the Teamsters to get what we deserve. What's right and what's right. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong. It says last month, Palmdale drivers secured monumental victory when National Labor Relations Board Region 31 made a determination that Amazon is a joint employer of its DSP drivers and therefore has a legal duty to recognize and bargain with the Teamsters. This determination sets a major precedent and is expected to extend to Amazon DSP drivers who unionize nationwide. The Queens-based drivers are the first to publicly announce they're organizing at a new facility and demand recognition following the historic NLRB decision. As momentum builds, all eyes are turning to the nearly 280,000 Amazon DSP drivers across the country. Damn, 280,000? Holy moly. It says any Amazon driver knows the truth. We wear Amazon uniforms. We drive Amazon's trucks. We live by Amazon's workplace standards. We are Amazon employees. That's from Latrice Sade Johnson, an Amazon driver from DPK4 in Queens. Amazon has no choice but to meet us at the negotiating table to hear our demands. We are proud to be Teamsters and join forces with other delivery workers across the industry. We have seen the Amazon Teamsters movement we have seen what the Amazon Teamsters movement can do, and we're ready to join forces as a union to make Amazon give us what we deserve. That's from Luke Renee, Amazon driver in DBK4. We're the reason Amazon makes billions in profits every year, and with support from our Teamsters brothers and sisters, we're going to get our fair share. Woo! This is good news. Look, hey, I want to see the workers get what they deserve. And so if you have Amazon drivers that are now able to make demands from corporate parasites like Bezos to give them what they deserve, good. Good. And I hope you hold people like Harris's feet to the fire, even though she decided to, speak in front of Teamsters recently. I hope you guys walk away from the duopoly, because Harris and Trump are not actually going to help facilitate anything better for the rest of you. Guys, you guys need to go with third parties. Now, full disclosure, I am press director for the Jill Stein campaign, so I do have a bias in that way, but talk to Jill Stein. Talk to all third parties, but talk to Jill Stein. Have a meeting with her. Let them know. What would you do for us as union workers? Call her. Contact Jason Call, who is her campaign manager. Go ahead. Or just email, right? Go on her website and email. But I think that's one of the points that it needs to be focused on. Like, these presidential candidates, what are they going to do for you as far as the system goes? I think that's really important. Now, let's go to what Roger had shown me, because this is also good news. So, the drivers in New York. Now we're going to talk about what's going on in Colorado. All right, so let's go into this. Roger sent me this. Let's go into this just a little bit.
Why does Uber win? Well, because it's rigged in their favor, right?
In 2023, a law professor published a paper with shocking implications. Her research found that tech firms like Uber and Lyft were using secret algorithms to dictate what drivers earn, based on factors we can't even see. She called it algorithmic wage discrimination. And this technology, or revolution, isn't restricted to rideshare companies.
Once that technology is in there, they can raise prices. On a hot summer day, I want a lot of ice cream, I want lemonade. They're running low, they can raise the price.
The price of milk, even your paycheck, the very fabric of our economy, all controlled by invisible and unaccountable algorithms. So about a year ago, I started reaching out to the companies. They largely denied it, only to contradict themselves a few months later. Then I reached out to the academics, and one of the frustrating things was that the evidence seemed to be in the shadows. A single study, a hint in an earnings call, a story from a driver. It was mostly theoretical, until a few months ago, when I got an email from a guy. I'd published a video that argued Uber's newfound profitability came at the expense of drivers and riders. He said, we were at the tip of the iceberg. So I called him. We talked. 3 weeks later, I was on a flight to Los Angeles, looking to settle the question once and for all. Are rideshare companies offering drivers different rates for the same work? What I found put the legality of this whole tech revolution in question.
Sounds like wage discrimination. Ooh-wee. All right. So, yeah. Look, this is why when it comes to companies like Uber and Lyft, I hope, and guys, take that poll, but I hope that, we can get out of this quagmire that Uber and Lyft have put us in, where they will charge us more depending on who we are. They can also charge you more depending on your zip code. Oh, we'll add a few more dollars to this person's fare because they're in this zip code. Or if you're a driver and they may also record, who you are by race or gender, they could also be giving you, more or less depending on your race and gender or your identity. They could have, monitoring within their apps and seeing, your identity there, and then basing it off of what you may be doing in different apps. There was just a story that came out how a lot of social media apps are also monitoring you. They're spying on you. So I wouldn't be surprised if these rideshare apps, whether you're a driver for these apps or a rider for these apps, they also could be monitoring different things and algorithms as well. So I'll watch that a little bit more in detail later, Roger, but I really, really want to get to this good story. Colorado, let's get into it. All right, this was beautiful. I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to be real with y'all. As I was reading this, I started to cry. So let's get into this. This was beautiful. This was beautiful. All right, so let me shout out to Roger for this one. If I can enlarge this and then get rid of this red box. Okay. It says new driver-owned rideshare app goes live, pays drivers higher wages. Oh, hang on. I cannot wait to share this with y'all. All right. Says the app designed as an alternative to Uber and Lyft pays drivers higher portions of earnings according to drivers. We tested it out by ordering a couple of rides. So this came out a few days ago. Here's the group of drivers, right? It says Drivers Cooperative Colorado. Ooh-wee. It says Co-op Colorado, the employee-owned app designed to compete with Uber and Lyft on a local level, is now active in Denver. Since 2023, Rocky Mountain Employee Ownership Center has worked with drivers and state regulators to get the app up and running. The app was created for gig drivers to achieve fairer working conditions and wages than Uber and Lyft currently offer, according to drivers. On August 29th, the app went live. Drivers are extremely happy, says Min Sun-ji, executive director for the RMEOC. This is the dream come true. They're happy because it is all transparent. If you click a ride, it shows exactly how much customers pay and how much you are taking. First of all, ain't that nice? So let's say the ride is $25, right? And the company will show, well, how much are they paying for the rides, and then how much you're going to get. So you're knowing how much that customer's paying for that ride, and then you get to see the breakdown between how much you get and how much the company gets. Isn't that great? Because that's transparency. And that's basically like, okay, here, this is, we're honoring this deal between us. I think this is wonderful. All right, let's continue. All right, it gets better. It says drivers have lamented the diminishing take rate from Uber and Lyft rides, even as trips have gotten more expensive for customers. When the Cross-Institutional Workers Algorithm Observatory examined data from over 13,000 gig drivers in Colorado, the academic organization found that only about 14% of what customers pay goes to drivers. The academic organization found that only about 14% of what customers pay goes to drivers. You mean you're only getting 14% of the rate? I want you guys to keep that in mind. 14% of what customers pay goes to drivers. Right? That means 86% of the money that you're charged from Uber and Lyft goes to the company. 86%. So it's an 86-14 difference. Does that sound fair to you? All right. We're going to see the difference in a second. All right. It says the observatory also discovered that base pay for Colorado drivers decreased from about $1.50 per mile in 2019 to around 50 cents per mile by 2024. Co-op Colorado plans to raise pay and transparency for drivers. The organization takes a 20% rate on all trips to maintain costs like business licensing, insurance, and app development, with drivers retaining the other 80% of revenue. This is a flippity flop. This said, all right, drivers, you get 80% and we take 20. So with Uber and Lyft, 14% for drivers, 86% for the company, this co-op goes, nah, we're giving the drivers 80% and we're taking 20. Which company would you go with if you were a driver? I would go with the co-op because I'm going to get 80%. If, let's say, hypothetically, you got a $20 ride, right? Let's say you're driving here in Orlando, and I need to go from here to Orlando International Airport. I got to go to OIA. And it costs me $20 even, right? You mean to tell me that if I'm driving somebody from, let's say, downtown Orlando to OIA, that means that $20 trip, that means I'm making $16 off that trip. You mean to tell me that I'm making 80%? I'm making $16? Because if it were flipped, I'd be making around $3, $4. No, about about $5 if I were driving for Uber or Lyft. But instead, I'm making 3 times that much, almost 4 times that much with the co-op. Not counting tip. Man, this is why we talk about co-ops, baby. This is why we talk about it. Because the workers need to be owners. See, this is why I advocate for socialism. Okay, it says next step for new app, Co-op Colorado. Drivers are aware that it won't be competitive for on-the-fly rides at the moment, but G expected it will become competitive within 1 year of doing business. So mind you, they just started in late August. Got to give them time. It says workers, drivers, they're so super excited. Drivers are all on board really quickly. G projects the app will reach 1,000 drivers over the next few months and 2,500 drivers by the next September, which she believes will disrupt the rideshare market currently dominated by Uber and Lyft. For now, the co-op is focusing on providing as many rides as possible and forming partnerships with entities that serve people who need rides to gain a financial cushion. Co-op Colorado is already working with the nonprofit Rhyker, which helps people recently released from incarceration access resources needed to stay out of jail or prison. Drivers from the co-op will help give rides to people who may have lost their licenses or lack a vehicle. According to G, there are already 6 clients from Rhyker assigned to drivers. The co-op hopes to work with organizations to serve people with disabilities who can't drive or refugees and immigrants who don't have licenses yet. Over 70% of Co-op Colorado members are immigrants themselves. The very first on-demand app that has been developed by community groups right here in Colorado. This can go big. We can actually share this app with so many other cities, drivers. That's our ultimate goal, to share this resource with others. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the part where I started to tear up. Helping people who were recently incarcerated to stay out of jail or prison. I want you to think about this. To the people who were in prison, caught up by the system, a lot of times it's very hard for them to find gainful employment because of a record they may have. And now you literally have people who are in a rideshare co-op that are being treated well, with dignity, and being able to make their coin after being mistreated by this system. I say that's a win. Because thinking about these people who are harmed by this system, and now they're able to not only be gainfully employed, but have as much control within the company that they work for, and being able to have a say democratically in how it operates. Seeing that, I started to tear up. because this is what we fight for. That's why I said this is good news, man. Says Denver is the second city to launch the driver-owned app. A driver's co-op launched in New York City in 2021. In New York, the co-op started with pre-planned trips only, contracting with the MTA's Access a Ride program to help drive people to non-emergency medical appointments. The app added on-demand rides in 2023. By the way, just to let you guys know, as somebody that's disabled, I have to use these type of rides too. And so I hope that we have companies like this here in Orlando so that I can use them for pre-planned rides, because ultimately I want a rideshare like this to succeed in Orlando. Listen, if anybody from this company that's operating either in New York or Orlando or in Colorado, if you are watching this, please try to get here to Orlando. Please. Because this is the entertainment capital of the world. We have Walt Disney World, we have Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, we have constant big big conventions here that are constantly being done here in Orlando. People come all over. We're 45 minutes away from Daytona Beach. We're an hour and a half away from Tampa Bay. We are in a really great location. I think that a co-op being here would be a great boom for you guys, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm sick and tired of Uber and Lyft. I'm sick and tired of seeing our drivers here for Uber and Lyft honestly having to fight with these corporations in order to get some type of dignity. So if you guys can make it there in New York, and if you guys can make it there in Denver, come to Orlando. I'm just saying. Let's continue. I hope they come here next. Either here or go to LA. One of the two. So, says to join the Colorado Co-op, drivers have to pay a $100 fee and complete an orientation. That's the only thing I'm kind of but they have to do what they have to do. It says people behind Co-op Colorado helped pass a law giving the Colorado Public Utilities Commission flexibility to lower the annual permitting fee for gig transportation employees. Because of that change, the Co-op Colorado paid $16,000 for its permit instead of the $111,250 fee all transportation companies had to pay before the passage of the rule. G says the continued support from the government and the people of Colorado is critical to the next steps for the co-op. It says, I'm really hoping people step up and support our app. The Co-op Colorado is having a public launch event on September 25th, which is in 3 days, on the west steps of the Colorado Capitol building to help get the word out. Now, how does it compare? So it says the interface is user-friendly with the photo and payment method page that pops up automatically. Use first use of the app. The Co-op Colorado app allows users to plug in home and work addresses and use pre-program in the Denver International Airport and Colorado Springs Airport addresses on the home page. Now, let me see. So here is basically the app. Very simple, very user-friendly. So basically it shows you where you can go. And now this person said, when I attempted to call an on-demand ride at 9:10 a.m. on a Tuesday from West Hampton Avenue and South Santa Fe Drive in Westworld, office at the 13th Avenue in Lincoln Street. No one picked up the ride for 20 minutes. I had a meeting to get to at 10 a.m., so I canceled the ride at 9:30. My money was immediately refunded, and there was no cancellation fee, although the app noted there will be one in the future. The ride would have cost $17.14 on the co-op app. When I called Lyft, instead, it was $17.69. Right now, it seems they aren't quick enough co-op drivers to make an on-demand riders available unless you're willing to wait longer. It is also possible that the length of the trip dissuades riders from wanting to pick me up. Now, just to let you guys know, that's the one downside for now, is that if you need, like, let's say it is 3:03 p.m. right now. If I needed a ride to be somewhere by 4 o'clock, or even by 3:30, I wouldn't be able to use it because it would take way too long for me to get where I need to go, because, you know, it's more, you know, pre-planned, because they don't have enough drivers to just pick up that slack. But let's say if I knew I needed to be somewhere by 6 and I wanted to leave by 5:15-ish, right? Then I could schedule that ride and then, you know, wait maybe 30 minutes and then, oh, you have a ride, you know, and it's going to be here at this time because it's pre-scheduled. Then I can definitely use it, which will be great, which will actually work for me. So that's the only slight downside, but as they gain more drivers, then they can start doing on-the-fly rides. It says, however, another cross-country trip I had scheduled hours beforehand, cross-city trip I had scheduled hours beforehand, accepted almost right away. I needed to get from my Capitol Hill apartment to my cousin's house in Lakewood by 4 p.m. on a Saturday, so I tested the schedule ride function. Around 11 a.m., I requested for the ride at 3:30 p.m. About 30 minutes later, the driver was assigned to pick me up at about 3:20 p.m. The app sent me a notification around 3 p.m. when the driver was on his way, which said he will be arriving in 0 minutes. But when I reached out to the driver, he let me know his real ETA. Although minor bugs and the app popped up, the ride itself was smooth and felt like any other trip with Uber or Lyft. The driver had a Co-op Colorado sticker on the window letting me know who he was, and his license plate and the car information matched the app's information. The trip cost $20.23. Not bad for the 11-mile trip. On my return trip with Lyft around 7:15 p.m., the ride cost $26.67. It says, after my ride, I got an email receipt that showed exactly how much my driver made, $15.94, and how much the co-op took, $3.99, as well as the trip duration. When I looked back into the app and selected a ride, I was able to rate my driver and added a tip. So it says, for those curious about trips to Denver International Airport, so it says he was quoted $54.82 from Lyft and was quoted $50.80, and Uber projected was $50.96. So it was a little bit more expensive. Now, let me ask you guys this. If you were if you said yes to taking a co-op rideshare, if it was slightly more expensive than Uber or Lyft, would you still take it? Or would you save that money and go with Uber or Lyft? Me personally, if I could afford it, let's say I had to get somewhere and it was $25 from Uber or Lyft, but it was $27, $28 with the co-op rideshare. If I could afford it, I'm still taking a co-op rideshare. Out of principle, because I know that it's going to benefit the workers even better. Because it actually is not exploiting the workers. I would actually just spend a couple extra bucks. Would you do it? If you could afford it. That's why I say put that if. So, yeah. So let me continue. Let me finish this up. So this person says, I will definitely be using Co-op Colorado for any planned trips in the future. The extra information about where my money was is a fun surprise, and it was a smooth process to schedule a ride. So I think that's awesome that you know exactly how much your driver is making off the trip. So not only does the driver know how much you're paying for the trip, but as a rider, you know how much your driver is getting paid for that trip. So if I'm paying $25 for a ride, and then I know that my driver is getting paid $20 for that trip, and then the company takes the other $5, because that's the 80-20 deal that they basically have, well then, hey, I'm going to feel better knowing that the person who's driving me is not being exploited. I'm going to feel good about that. So this is why I said this is good news, because we need more companies like this. We need more co-op ride shares. We need more co-op grocery stores. We need more co-op farms. We need more worker-owned, worker-operated businesses in this country, because workers need to have the power within their hands, not these corporate parasites that are controlling everything. We need to get the control out of the hands of these corporate parasites. This is why I think, honestly, we should have the, I'm always forgetting the term, but it's right of first acceptance, I think it is, or right of first refusal, either way. But the right to be able to, if the person wants to sell the company, well, then give the workers the right to buy it or to refuse it if they want. Or give workers the ability to come together to establish a co-op, and then look, from the federal government, either give a grant or a low interest loan to these workers so that they can establish or buy the company so that they can have it and own it collectively. I think that we should have laws set in place for things like that. And it can be done. You can, try to do it through, ballot initiatives if you live in a ballot initiative state. But I want to see more companies like this. Can you imagine working at a restaurant that is completely co-op owned, where the servers don't make this $2, $3, $4 an hour, where they actually get a living wage, and then they actually profit share, and they actually have a say over how the restaurant is ran, because they're worker owners, but they're the servers. Imagine being a cook, a line cook, being able to not only make how much you make an hour, but also from the profits, you actually get a percentage of it. And you guys get to decide collectively how that percentage is doled out and when it's doled out in the restaurant. And then your managers are voted on democratically. So you get to vote on your own manager. So we got to be like, oh man, this dude's my manager now. No, you guys get to vote on that and go, no, we all like this person as a manager. We get to vote on it and say, no, this is our manager, because this person is fair. This person is reasonable. They work hard. They not only they walk the walk and talk the talk. No. See, this is the thing. This is how work should be organized. The problem is that we don't have a system like that, but we can. Man, isn't this great news? I'm going to put this link in the chat for you guys so that you guys can also share this. But I love news like this, man. This is the stuff I live for. This is the stuff that we can have. Look, this stuff is possible, man. I love this. I love this for us. And I would love this for you, you know? So, oh, man. Exactly, CeeLo. You get it? Oh, my God. Did my voice just crack? I haven't had that happen since teenage years. But anyway, yes, this instead of tipping would justify the increased prices to eat out. Let me find out about a co-op restaurant right now. We going to eat, mama. Mama, we going to eat. What you want? Well, I ain't got money like that right now. I'm broke as a joke. I don't make much. You know, I'm disabled, get disability money. But, you know, if they, you know, if the prices are decent, I can do that, man. I would definitely go. I'd be like, nah, let's support these people. Man. Anyway, so I wanted to share that good news with you guys because I think that is something that's, you know, fire. Look, keep fighting for the rights of workers, man, because I think that is deeply important for us, you know, to push for a more egalitarian system. And just please, you know, do not, you know, let this system get you down. There are wins that we can actually hold on to. I know there's very heavy stories that we have to contend with. I know there's stuff that's horrible going on in Gaza. I know there's horrible stuff that's going on in Tigray and Sudan and in Haiti. I know there's horrible stuff going down between, you know, what's going on with them rejecting us Black people, especially Black Americans, where we're making demands for reparations, or we're trying to make it so that we can actually have a more fairer system when it comes to policing, or when it comes to our, you know, medically, you know, there's so many different things, but hold on to the good stories. Use that energy to push forward. Keep pushing for democracy, not just around the world, but democracy in your own workplace. Real democracy. Real choice. And yeah, let's change this world to a better place. All right, let's get into the chat because I know y'all got some things to say. All right, let's go. Let's let me go to let's go into the chat. Rock. Okay, yeah, I will put Roger in chat with Abe. Hempcar says the more immigrants here, the better off we are. Haiti, we're fighting the deep state for hundreds of years. As far as, you know, immigration is concerned, I want us to change our system, our foreign policy, so that people will not have to immigrate here under duress because of what our government's doing to their government, what our government's doing to their country. I want people to come here and go, oh yeah, I just became a citizen, or I'm coming here on work release. Yeah. And, you know, I think that's cool. My thing is, I don't want them to have to come here under duress, because ultimately, you know, oh yeah. Oh, I'll get you, Roger. But yeah, I want them to have to come here, you know, just relaxed, you know, just like I want us to be able to go to other countries and visit. Or if we want to move there, you know, we go relaxed without us damaging their country. But yes, thank you very much for that, Hempcar. Roger says you're thinking of right of first offer. Yes, thank you. Also, that 86% you don't get from Uber not all that goes to Uber. It's like sales tax and black car fund. Gotcha. Says, I think with the co-op, the drivers should get paid a guaranteed wage of $50 instead of per call, and the company pays for the car maintenance, repairs, and car wash. That's fair. I think that's fair, Roger. I do think that this is definitely a good step in the right direction. But I think, yes, you know more because you've actually been a driver for rideshare. You know better than I do. But yeah, look, what the drivers want is what I think the drivers should get. All right, let's go into this. Why am I whispering? I have no idea. All right, thank you. Shout out to Noah for becoming a channel member. All right, clap it up for Noah. Thank you so very much. Good to see you. All right, let me go into that. Let me go into the poll. Did you guys take the poll? I hope you did. Go ahead, take the poll. Take the poll. Take the poll. Take the poll. I don't know, man. That story got me hyped. Let me see. All right. And you know what's interesting? The majority of the people that are actually in that cooperative that are in the picture are Black. And I'm just like, man, I thought that was cool too. I mean, I want it for all workers, but I think that's also pretty cool. Well, it's a good thing I do not have to play any video. All right. Okay. So out of 150 votes, chances you would use a rideshare co-op, 42% said definitely, 33% said maybe, 9% said never. I wonder why the 9% said never. 17% said I don't use or I own a car. Interesting. I wonder why so many people said they would never. That's interesting. So you would rather use Uber or Lyft? Hang on. Did I share my screen? No, I did not. Hang on. Let me share so you guys can see. Sorry. So yeah, this is the breakdown. So 42% said definitely, 33% said maybe, 9% said never, and then 17% said I don't use or I own a car. Makes me wonder. All right, let's go into the rest of this. Oh, Fiery Post says I hit the wrong button. I hit never by accident. Oh man, I'm so sorry. That's cool though. I understand. So there's some different some difference in the number, but it's okay. Tim Price says I'm late, but I'm here. Good to see you, Tim. Lawrence says I'm happy to hear this win. It is necessary to celebrate and recognize the impact of hard work and sacrifice for good change. Yes, on all this story needed this. Yes. Oh, Anon usually says watching Jaybe gives me strength. He is stronger than I. Oh, and he has much worse material conditions upon him. Oh man, look, we do what we can with what we got. We keep encouraging each other. So you're doing the best you can, Anon user. I'm not better than anybody else. We all have to do what we can within our communities. So just keep pushing. Your survival is an encouragement in itself. Bad Wolf says, Jaybe, you'll probably know about our Electrista here in Tampa. Their prices still rock, and you can get better Spanish dinner there. Is that a co-op restaurant in Tampa? I don't know. Please let me know. Oh my goodness. Yes. James Starks. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Savvy the way she said that. James Starks, little democracy in our homes, no democracy at work. Great show. Jaybe, all powers to RBN. Thank you very much. Sorry, James. I had to. Yeah, Sila says co-op rideshare for the same reason you stated. Yeah. I mean, look, and while I say this is a good thing, I also think that we should ramp up intensely our use of public transportation, high-speed rail, and I also think that public transportation should be free at the point of service. But I also think that, having a co-op rideshare, I think that's a step in the right direction. I do. Let me see. I'm trying to get to other people who haven't got to say. Oh, yeah. This is the guy. Chris H. said Tony Timpa. He was murdered by the cops. Yeah, Tony Timpa was executed just like George Floyd was. He was a white guy that they kneeled on his neck and they murdered him. So yeah, his name was Tony Timpa. I couldn't remember his name at the time, but yes, any of you should look into Tony Timpa and how he was murdered by police. I think that a lot of people need to look into that. Let me see. Cobra Commander says, Alexa, how many police shootings have happened in China with the population of 1.2 billion people in 20 years? People are getting mad when they find out the answer. DC says having to pay at point of service for a service subsidized by local tax dollars is a form of double taxation without representation at that. Yeah, you know what? I think that's actually a good point, because it's like if we're already subsidizing it for public transportation, then we shouldn't have to pay. We shouldn't have to pay at the point of service. If I get on the bus, if there's a bus going to pick me up, like see here in Orlando, we have the Lynx bus. If that's already being subsidized by our tax dollars, then I shouldn't have to pay when boarding the bus. In fact, people who, like for instance, the subway in New York, if that's being subsidized by taxpayers, then we shouldn't have to pay a fare in order to get on the subway. That means that that guy that evaded fare, that was murdered by police in New York, that would have never happened, because there's no fare evasion if there's no fare. But yeah, I agree, TC. Thank you very much for that. All right, so I'm gonna head on out, but look, guys, take this good news story with you and share it among people. Of course, I will be live this Tuesday on my channel. I will be speaking with Chester Todd, who's running for Congress under the Green Party. So if you guys would like to, you guys can go to my channel for that. Also, I'll be covering a news story regarding C-sections. That's going to be an interesting. Black women in C-sections. It's going to be an interesting story. So I'm going to be talking about that. I think I'll do, I don't know, I might do one more news story. I'm just still debating it. But Besides that, I will be getting into. I'll try to get to the reading. It's falling by the wayside though with this new job. But yes, just to let you guys know, I am now a press director for the Jill Stein campaign. And yes, I've already put that out in my channel about on Thursday last week. So if you guys wanted to get more into that of what I said, then you guys can, look into that. Of course, I gave my endorsement of Jill Stein, but I did it as an individual, not as a part of RBN. RBN, whatever members want to do, they can do that. I don't speak for the network. Okay. So just to let you guys know, I just wanted to put that out there as well. But yes, so I will see you guys on Tuesday. Now, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank Abraham Márquez for basically coming in and giving that news. Appreciate it very much. Look, like I always say, water your plants, water yourselves. Do all the things if you got them. And look, I will see you guys in the next one. And forehead kisses. Keep the good news up there. And ACAB. All right, everybody. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys have yourself